So I'd just like to, I guess, take a couple of moments here to welcome all of you to our Sunday Feast program. We're zooming, we're broadcasting from 212 Somerset Street East in Ottawa, the residence of our beloved Sri Sri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. And yeah, I'd like to welcome you all online again. We're conducting how would I say it? A skeleton crew at the temple. There's only a few devotees. Adi Sham Prabhu and his families are there, and they're graciously hosting, deity service, right? Arti for Sri Sri Gaur Nitai. I could see they've prepared some wonderful preparations as well. There's some wonderful prasadam there, but due to the current COVID situation, we're not at this time opening up the temple to the public. We have suspended the registrations right now for the time being to sign up to come to the temple in person. And so currently we're making the best out of the situation. And I could see there's quite a few devotees here that are online. So I would like to welcome you. My name is Krishna Dulal Das. And let me see, I'll just go down the list here. So we have Mother Elena, Hare Krishna, I can see you, welcome. Mother Ishwari Keshavi, Haribol. We have Harinama Amrita Prabhu, welcome. And we have Mother Mila, Hare Krishna, welcome. And I might say at this moment, if I know Maharaj always likes it, and everybody likes it, if there are devotees who have the capabilities and ability to put on our cameras so we can see some faces, make this experience a little bit more personal, I'm sure that is preferred. So Sahil Prabhu, welcome, Hare Krishna. Ilya Prabhu, Haribol, Gi Prabhu, Hare Krishna. We've got K, Haribol K. And then we have Sharad Prabhu and Mother Sonia, welcome. Mother Anandamayi, Hare Krishna. Sunil Prabhu, Haribol. Jay Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Mother Sadhana, Haribol. JY, Hare Krishna. Santosh Revankar, Haribol. Mother Leela Mohini, welcome. Mother Leela Mohini, Hare Krishna. Kirtiraj Prabhu, Haribol. A, we have an A abbreviation, not sure. So Hare Krishna, welcome. Mother Sheila, Raghu and Bhumi, Paramahamsa Prabhu, Hare Krishna. And I think that I can see Matthew Prabhu as well. Haribol, Matthew Prabhu, welcome. And of course, we have our special guest today. So His Holiness Bhaktimarga Maharaj. So I'd like to welcome him. And I have a little short blurb here to give him a little introduction. Of course, Maharaj has been, we've known Maharaj here in our community for many, many years, decades, and he has spoken here with us many, many times before. So we're so glad to see him here again. So a little bit about Maharaj. Bhaktimarga Swami was born in Chatham, Ontario, Canada, is also known as the Walking Monk. He has actually a website, thewalkingmonk.net. And keeping with the spirit of pilgrimage, he also crossed the USA, Israel, Ireland, Guyana, Trinidad, Mauritius, and the Fiji Islands. And there's documentation of his Canadian walks is found in 2 films, actually, if anybody has. I don't know whether it's on Netflix, but I'm sure it can be found. The Longest Road by the National Film Board of Canada, and Walking, The Lessons of the Road by Michael Oish. As a youth, Maharaj was a student of fine arts, but took to the life of Hare Krishna monk at the age of 20 in 1973. Although pursuing monastic ways, he maintains artistic expression through morality theater, which takes him around the globe as a playwright and director, an opportunity to work with talented youth in various communities. He is also an instructor of Bhakti Yoga, a leader of musical mantra meditation called Kirtan, and a speaker on the science of the self based on the ancient teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So welcome, Maharaj, again, so wonderful to have you. And so now Maharaj will speak. He's going to share some wisdom with us. And I know that Maharaj's style is very much interactive. So please, soak it in as much as you can. And perhaps if you have some questions afterwards that you would like to add, I'm sure Maharaj will be very happy to answer any questions that there are. Over to you, Maharaj. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And I would like to dedicate these next few minutes to my dear god sister, Lakshmani, who I owe her so much. I came and she was a senior to me, at the temple in Toronto, and she helped me a lot. So my respects to her. Happy New Year to everybody. And it is a new year. It's a thrilling time. I guess it's thrilling or chilling, one of the two. And but due to circumstances, we're able to reach out, go to Ottawa just through Zoom, and then there's less gloom. I will just open up with our usual song, but I won't sing too long because I think we started a little late. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravaradhari, Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Harikrishna. A description of the spiritual world. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktimarga Swami Dhamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Paricharini Nirvishesha Shunyavad Astyatya Deshatharini. Thank you very much. So our topic today is in the boxing ring with Maya. And, you know, not so long ago, we honored Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas. And the history behind Boxing Day is when very fairly well-to-do people, who had servants, they prepared in a box or several boxes some goodies for their servants. So it was a day of goodwill, good gesture. It was a nice sattvic gesture, but that has turned into a more rajasic format. Boxing Day is when you practically box your way through the crowds to get some deals. And it's all about deals. So, you know, but the silent night, holy night is pretty much spoiled by the next day's mode of passion. And boxing also comes to mind because it's become a popular sport. I did a little research on it. And before I quote any shlokas or anything, I'll just give you a little documentation on it. So boxing has become a popular sport, and it was started up first. They have a record of it. The Egyptians took it up around 3000 BC. That's around the same time that you know who took birth on this planet, you know, Jai Shri Krishna. And so it became well known at that time. And then the Greeks took it up. It is mentioned in the Iliad, which is one of their popular epics there. And just like we have the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, they have their epics, and one of them is the Iliad by Homer, the author. And apparently there's a funeral scene in there, and during that time there's a boxing match that goes on as well. So there's a record of that going on. The Romans also took up the punching game a little later on, and the way it was rendered was they took leather strapping and they put from the wrist around the fist and up into the knuckles, at least in that area. And then eventually the Romans added a new feature to the leather strapping, and that was like a metal, some metallic strapping around the metal, you know. So it got a little bit more brutal and savage-like, and believe it or not, the Romans abolished it around 400 AD. Can you believe it or not? That the gladiator, the Colosseum people, they had decided it's too brutal. So, okay. So maybe it went underground or into hiding for a while. And then it appeared again in the 1600s in the UK. And it was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. That's when he was born. Boxing came up into the picture again. And then around the 1700s, some schools of training, boxing training, took place. In the 1800s, it came to America. And then finally, in the 1900s, Theodore Roosevelt, one of America's more popular kind of presidents, he took it up to keep fit and to bring out the animal spirit in him. So it really got popular during his period, and it got highly publicized, I guess, through the radio and then later television. And it was very professional, if you will. Professional brutality is maybe the way I kind of like look at it. And some famous fighters in the ring were Muhammad Ali, of course. He was known as Cassius Clay when I was a kid, and then he changed his name later on. And I still remember seeing him on the TV. I can take on anyone. I beat everyone that Canada has to offer, anyone that Europe has had to offer. There was quite a big ego in him at the time. I think in years gone by, he sort of mellowed out, but that was his, nature at the time. And some of the big games were with Joe Fraser, Joe Louis. These were also contenders and famous boxers, of the last century. And I guess it still goes on. The games are convoluted in the sense that if you're a fighter, you can make millions of dollars in one night. It's just a kind of out of control. Like many sports events have lost their luster, including hockey. Sorry, Canada. But it's just become very commercialized, unfortunately. And so there was also, when you think about boxing, it's in the ring, and you go through, I think it's in amateur boxing, you go through 3 or 4 rounds of are you still with me? Somebody's trying to call in. So, and then in professional boxing, they have more. So they do their rounds, And I was thinking that's a very strong terminology in order to doing our rounds. And these are not punching gloves that Prabhupada's given us. He's given us bullets, And I just want to show off my new routine. My big beads were stolen when I was in Cuba from the time of Prabhupada. I had them at that time. And so I went for a smaller pair, a smaller strand, and I put them in my bead bag, which is a little burlap bag. And I placed that inside, and I traveled with this everywhere. And I put it in my kurta pocket. Yes, very convenient, no big thing dangling in front of your chest. Okay, now there was a little bit more I picked up on. One guy was boxing, his name was Waldorf, and this was 1949, and he was having a boxing round with a bear, with a live bear, and the bear won. Yay! Okay. There's another story from 2016, happened in Ontario, probably, in bear country. There was a 61-year-old fellow who had a boxing training background, and he was walking his dog, and he spotted a little bear cub poking his face through like a bush. And then shortly thereafter, just seconds, came Mama Bear charging right after him, after the man, not the dog. And, mother bears are very defensive instinctively towards their young, and they have every reason to be, especially if you're dealing with human beings. But this man went for an innocent walk, and he was 61, I think I mentioned that, and he put up his dukes, so to speak, and slang for hands, and he used his boxing experience. And he did get some scratches on his face and on his chest from the bear's, clawing and maybe jaws as well. But basically the bear gave up and took off, So that happened just like 5 years ago or 6 years ago in our very province here. Now, what does all this boxing have to do with Harikrishna? Because we're supposed to be gentle people. We're supposed to be soft and, granola kind of people. We're nonviolent. We're vegan / vegetarian, and we're We're not aggressive. At least we don't have that profile much anymore. And so what does this boxing have to do with Krishna consciousness, and why did we choose it? Well, we did say that boxing, in the boxing ring with Maya. So we identify what Maya is in the Shastras. They give us some idea. Maya's portrayal in some of our texts is personified is as an alluring female, usually because it's addressing men and their problems and their challenges, right? And in other traditions, you have Satan usually portrayed as somebody who's quite red and with some, pointy or like horns and a tail, and using like a trident, And then I go to South Africa every year, and their portrayal of a demon or Satan is Tokolokshe, and he's portrayed as a sort of a ratty kind of human being with long hair and greasy, and he even has on the tip of his shoulder a male organ, and it's all kind of gross, and that's their idea of Satan, and in each case, whether it's Satan or the devil, Tukalokshe, or our Maya, their intent is to tempt us and to weaken us, and so that's what we try to battle. Okay, now boxing is a kind of a fight, and it's coordinated, it's organized. It's not a random thing. The training is very involved, but it's a type of fight, conflict, right? And usually the person, if there's a disagreement, like usually in Europe, they had such a thing that it occurred amongst the people who are a little more well-to-do. If they had a disagreement between two persons, they would just, punch it out. Just hammer it out with punching gloves. That's how they do it. They settle differences that way. Okay, so boxing is not mentioned in the Gita, it's a fact. But fighting is. In fact, in the first verse of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Dhritarashtra, the first speaker in the Gita, is not Krishna or Arjuna, it's the blind king. And he says, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samabeta Yutsavaha Mamaka Pandavas Chaiva Kim Akuravata Sanjaya. So the blind king is curious to know from his secretary Sanjay, who was blessed to be able to see what was going on some hundreds of miles north of Hastinapur, which is now Delhi, city of Delhi, capital of India. And Kurukshetra is the name of the place, the field, Kshetra of the Kurus, where lots of ceremonies took place of a dharmic religious nature. And it's also a sacred area because several holy rivers are bordering it. Like there's at least 3 rivers that border this area called Kurukshetra. It's virtually flat, and it's good for people to fight in such a situation, for horses and chariots. It's so south of the Himalayas. That's Kurukshetra. So the blind king is asking Sanjay's secretary, tell me what's going on. You have the vision. You can see mystically by the blessings of your Guru Vyasadeva. Tell me what's going on with my sons. I'm anxious. My sons, the Kauravas, and my nephews, the Pandavas, my brother's sons. They are eager to fight. So the word in Sanskrit is yuyutsava. Yuyutsava is it's a generic term for fighting. Okay, and the popular, let's say, sport of self-defense, jiu-jitsu, comes from this Sanskrit word yuyutsava, right? And then what's very interesting is that this word yuyutsava in its different forms appears in the first chapter quite a bit, the word. So we already mentioned 1:1, Yutsava. Then if you have your Gitas with you, you can flip some pages or look in your phone. 21 and 22. Arjuna is speaking, and he's asking Krishna, let's go. By the way, Dhritarashtra spoke, Sanjay spoke, Duryodhan speaking, and now we're getting to Arjuna speaking. So it takes a few verses before Arjuna or Krishna get a chance to say anything in what is popularly set as the Gita. So Krishna is saying 21, 22, or Arjuna rather, is saying, I'd like to see what's going on. So Krishna is the chariot driver. Let's say he follows through. And he says, I really want to go between the two armies. And I want to see those who are interested in Yodhu Kaman. Kaman means those who desire to fight. And Yudhovam, that's also in the same, in that category of 21 and 22. 23, Yudhe, also appears, which also means fighting. Want to come to see those who are eager to fight. In verse 28, you can flip your pages. Yuyutsum, Arjuna, seeing those before me in this fighting spirit. Arjuna becomes kind of bewildered, as you know how the story goes. Arjuna kind of chickens out and vies for retreating to the forest and trying to be some kind of a sadhu. Well, it really wasn't the time to do that, you know. It was like a very wrong decision. It's good to know that he wanted to see who the enemy was, although he had a good idea. There were 11 Ukshahinis on the Kaurava side, that means military divisions. And on the Pandava side, it was 7. And so the Pandavas were very much outnumbered in terms of infantrymen. And there were at least 1 million soldiers from Krishna, his personal army, that went over to the side of Duryodhan. So they're implicated there. So when we study the Gita, we know it's all about a fight, or a fight that is to come. And but really more in a relevant way, the fight has much to do with us, you know. We're not just putting aside the historical event of the war of Kurukshetra. We actually have to address our own battle within, you know. And Arjuna did ask Krishna when they go deeper into discussions, and when Arjuna says, okay, I'm your student, I give in, you are my master, and just help me through this. So Arjuna, in his sincerity and integrity, asks, what is it, Krishna? What is it that makes us weak? What is the force that causes us to act against our own will, against our own good judgment even? Because Arjuna's judgment was weak. It was very weak to the point where Krishna says, nay, this will not work. And so he asks, what is that thing? What is that force? So Krishna identifies it. You're going to find it in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Kama Isha, Krodha Isha, Rajaguna Samabhava. And Kama again means desire. It's a lust is really the epitome of all desires. And this desire arises from the mode of passion. It can turn into anger even. So Krishna, in a generic way, he's saying this is the force, it's lust. And that's what's the all-devouring sinful enemy of humankind. So how do we see this lust? It comes in different shapes. Lust kind of blinds us, and some nice visuals or examples are given in the Gita in chapter 3 again. Du mena vriyati vanir yathar darsho malenacha yato bina vriyatadar kubas. And these 3 images are given of number 1, the smoke that covers fire, dust that covers a mirror, and the embryo being covered by the mother's womb. These are 3 different levels of darkness or ignorance or desires that kind of block our intelligence. So what's really interesting is that Krishna highlights it and he says, lust, he continues on these different degrees of lust. And he talks about it is like fire and it burns and it's never satiated. It's never satisfied. You can feed fire so much wood and it will never be satisfied, never. So in text 40, the question is asked, where do I find this lust? Where is it situated? And then Krishna says the sitting places of lust are in the senses, and the generally in the body and also in the mind. There's a lot of flirtations that go on in the mind and also in the intelligence. So it looks like it's pretty much covering everything, isn't it? But then Krishna gives some hope. He says, the slayer of this intense desire that we have, it can be slain by a weapon, and that weapon is the weapon of knowledge, jnanam. And because jnanam helps us to understand there's a lower side to us and there's a higher side. The lower side it's kind of like this. Here's the lowest side of aspect of our Atma. Sometimes the Atma is referred to body and soul. So we're going to use that definition. Atma meaning body and soul together. So here at the bottom, you have the Indriya, the senses, and the physical body. That's part of the lower self. Next level is the mind, subtle, but still part of the lower self. And then you've got, on the next level, intelligence, buddhi, brain power, and so on. And then finally, you have at the top, saha, the referred to the Atma, the soul. So Krishna is simply saying, control the lower self by the higher self. Indriyani paranyabur indriyabhya paran manaha. Manasastu para buddhir yobude paratastu saha. So you have the senses, mind, intelligence, finally the soul. That's kind of like a hierarchy. And we can basically conquer the shatrum. Shatrum means the enemy through the weapon of knowledge. So the knowledge that, say, for instance, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit, and I have higher purposes in life, much more so than what we normally are, let's say, bombarded by in this world. Yeah, so the fight is on, and our dear Bhaktimarga Swami has written books on spiritual warrior. It has much to the theme is be a warrior, be a fighter. We may be gentle folk, but we wear soft clothes. We don't wear black leather. It's all soft and frilly and easy going, and so in general we're gentle people. We're born to be mild, and there's a famous song, I think Krishna Jalal knows all the music. One of the first heavy metal pieces that ever came out in the late 60s was Born to be wild. Heavy music, right? By Steppenwolf. But some of us, we think we're born to be mild. Okay, but to get mild, you still have to be a fighter. You can be a lamb at home, but a lion on the chase. So it's expected that we become aggressive towards the enemies that have been identified and, tackle them, punch them out, knock them down. And one thing that Muhammad Ali did say, it's not that if one loses in a fight, he's knocked down. It's not that he's been defeated. You are defeated when you stay down and you don't get up and fight again. So he was just saying, continue on with the battle. And the battle again is with this, this kind of the material energy that tends to bring us down to our knees and even lower. So fighting is what we must identify with. I was raised as a Catholic. Maybe some of you Irish-blooded Vaishnavas and Polish-blooded Vaishnavas, I'm looking at two right now. Maybe you went through baptism, and then you went to, let's see, the next one is communion. That's when you get your, little chapati on the tongue. And then after that, you get confirmation. So you become a soldier of Christ. The Archbishop comes around and he does like this. It's symbolic of tapping the devil out of your tokaloksha, your Maya, getting Maya out. And as Jesus was kind of aggressive towards the Satan, he said, he was walking in the desert for 40 days, 40 nights, and it was very hungry and thirsty, fasted, walked that distance. And then Satan came in front of him and tempted him. And Jesus was saying, Satan, get you behind me. I don't want to see your face. So the idea is to be a little aggressive with your conscience, I mean, to tackle that which is going to weaken us. And in that sense, we are boxers in the ring with Maya. And even if Maya plummets us down, takes us down, that's okay. You got to get back on your feet and keep going at the game. Maya is some kind of an interesting entity, personified, evil personified, but also sometimes presented in a way as a saint, a devotee of Krishna. I mean, there's Maya, Mahamaya, and Yoga Maya. Practically, there isn't much difference. Maya means that which is not. It's to do with illusion. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but when I was walking through Pennsylvania, I turned a corner in the countryside. Pennsylvania is very beautiful, by the way, with lots of hills and Appalachian mountains and all that. Beautiful in the fall, especially. So I turned a corner and a pit bull pushed its way through the spring door and was coming after me. It was quite a long, lawn, no grass level, and it was a female, and she was clearly after me. Fortunately, her owner came right after her, and had he not been there, I'm not sure what would have happened, but I'm sure my dhoti would have been torn to pieces at the very least. And so the owner came out, and the name of the dog was Maya. The name of the dog was Maya. So the owner kept saying, Maya, get back, stop that. So the dog lunged towards me quite a few times, but the owner kept her under control. And he kept saying the same, Maya, stop that. So I tried to keep calm, and I asked the owner, do you know what Maya means, by the way? He said, no, I don't know. What does it mean? Stop it, Maya, get back. I said, Maya in Sanskrit means illusion. Well, she's an illusion, all right. Stop it, Maya. And after that, shortly after that, the female, I guess the female partner of the man who owned the dog, Maya, she put her head through you could see her little sort of visage of her through the screen door. And she had a raspy, loud voice, something like Janis Joplin. And she said, Maya, get back here. At least the human beings were nice to me, trying to call off the dog. So anyways, Maya is not always in the form of a dog. Not really. Maya is something vicious, and it's something within, and it's something we've been carrying for some time. And we have to just take up the challenge and fight Maya that comes in the form of lust and anger and greed and madness and envy and illusion, some of these sort of darker sides of life. So are we all agreed? We'll be fighters. I'm sure you already are working at it. As soon as you do your japa, I'm sure it's there. So I think I'm looking at the time, 6:11. Is that good enough, my dear Krishna Dulal?
Harikrishna Maharaj, do you have some time for some questions or reflections from the devotees online? Or do you
You're
have to run?
asking me?
Yeah. Do you have time? Yes.
Oh, yeah, I have all the time. I have time. Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Yes, so please, dear devotees, this is your opportunity to ask any questions that you might have for Maharaj. Maharaj is really always happy to engage with the devotees, right, and hear from you. So perhaps there's a feature on the bottom here, which is reactions, and you can click on that there, and you can raise your hand just like this, and we'll perhaps take your comments or your appreciations, your questions in order as they're raised.
Yes, you just saw the blessing hand of Krishna Dulal there, and you can do the same. All right.
Oh, Vishwari Keshavi, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And thank you for giving this talk and using the analogy of, the boxing ring and having to fight Maya. That really landed for me. I was just thinking, you're talking about how the devotees' disposition is, in general mild, but still, a devotee has to fight against, like you were saying, these enemies that were described, the lust, the greed, the anger. What happens if one becomes confronted with those enemies and feels like, I don't know, for lack of better words, like scared or, ill-equipped or not properly, ready to fight those things? What advice would you give to?
Well, I would just say it's always good to have somebody around you that's spiritually strong. Always we have to go to the Sangha as the answer or solutions to, spiritual and material problems. It could be a phone call away. It could be your next door neighbor who's your spiritual pal. But that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always referred to Sangha, a sadhu Sangha. Revert to, help, reach out, don't hesitate. We're most vulnerable when we're alone, and but we don't have to be alone. Human beings are always, found to be social animals. There's always someone, part of the herd is nearby. So I think that's when we get under attack. It's when we're a little bit alone, vulnerable, something like that. So I think we should not feel so much that weekend, as long as we have good company around us, and that's going to make all the difference. And I say the Sangha because the Sangha or the sadhu that's around you is a person who's like a breathing, like a jnani, somebody who will make us strong when we're weak. Arjuna had that benefit by having Krishna right there next to him. So it's a matter of reaching out. If you have some legal problem, you call a lawyer. And if you have a plumbing problem, you got the water's gushing out in the kitchen. Oh my God, what's going to happen? The floor's going to rot and all this stuff. Okay, so you call the plumber, and when he comes in, oh, it's like such a relief. So same thing when you enter into human nature conditions. of some kind of weakness where Maya strikes. Just go out and reach out. Like the old song goes, reach out, I'll be there. You probably know it. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, just reach out because, you know, it's identified by Krishna as the slayer of these overwhelming enemies. It is the slayer. So sometimes a book can do it for a reading, but oftentimes it's the book with the human touch that makes the difference. So have that mentor in your life, or mentors plural, somebody you can reach out to, your local, you know, true blue counselor. It's the human being, the one that's going to sit you down and empathize and listen, and then some advice can be given should you choose to have some advice. And I think of all the solutions, you know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I get into a little bit of anxiety, I have some disturbance, I sometimes just want to sit down and have a little something to eat. That's how I address my worries or weaknesses when I feel attacked. And it does help to some degree. But there's nothing like just talking to someone and so laying things out on the cards on the table and speaking to someone in confidence. It has to be someone in confidence and to help us with these issues. And I just think there's, you know, samosas won't do it for you. It's got to be. It may help, but I think the strongest refuge is just that devotee that can come and listen and offer advice and make the difference.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Maharaj, I was just thinking this analogy that you were giving with you know, the boxing ring, like with regards to Sangha, very often in the boxing ring, you'll have a coach that's in your corner, right? And in between rounds, you sit down with the coach and you know, the boxer's like, what do I do, coach? What can I do? What's my next move? And then you get instructions. So just like in the, I guess, in the boxing ring, you know, we have our coaches and our the Sangha that we have that gives us the energy, right? Gives us the right, helps us find the way, right? To move forward. That's, you know.
Yeah, good. Like, I mean, you know, there's different ways to define guru, you know, mentor, guide, coach, cheerleader, you know, all wrapped in one, you know. That's the kind of person you need, you know, in your life, you know. And most people settle down with a partner, and they're supposed to be doing that for each other, you know. Yeah, sometimes there's conflict, you know, but don't make that partner your enemy. That's not my. Make that person your friend, the person that you can confide in and really take shelter of. You know, partners should do that for each other, you know, constantly, you know, just supporters. And you know, to be a representative of Krishna, to help people in those kind of in moments of turmoil or peril. You know? So we all have, you know, mini problems and major problems, and it's always good to have someone there. I feel very, very bad for people who lead a lonely life and they don't have anybody to go to. Then there's a lot that seems to be on the rise in our world, our current world of people being quite lonely and not having a shoulder to cry on. You know? So devotees should be there for each other. That's what makes our family strong. Then you can say you have a real family. I think Surinder is up there. Yes, Surinder. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes,
Thank you very much for coming to the the Sunday Feast program. It was very nice listening. The question is, I mean, I often hear in the lecture quoted, but I don't know the exact words, but it says that basically, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say that, the defect of his disciple is that they do not fear Maya. And then, and I was just thinking, what do they mean by that? And later on, I'm kind of realizing is that we know some of the things where they are not good. So we should not either go there or we should not do those things. But there are certain things which we just do not even know actually that we are trapped in Maya, and we take it as a part of life sometimes, and then we are kind of enjoying that, or not enjoying, but ignorant about it. Let's put it that way. How yeah, how would you? I mean, there's a lot of theoretical explanation, but I would just like to hear from you. How should we make ourselves kind of well protected, or I should not say expert because there's no such thing, but maybe well protected is a nice word, so that we are always conscious that, oh, this is not for us, like that.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry
again,
for the long question.
I think the answer is similar to what we just talked about. You have to have a partner with you who can help you with those kind of moments of weakness. Like, there's nothing that you can hide. That's how close you can be with that individual. There's no secret, there's no dark secret, there's no real bad habits, because you're always looking out for each other. And same thing with having children and having a community around you. Everyone's looking out for each other, so that when it looks like someone's slipping a little bit, you have an obligation to catch that person before they slip down, really make a hard fall on the ground. So I think it's just building up that sense of community and being very strong in the relationships. It's really important that people listen to each other and try to understand each other, try to be the soul that's leaping out of your body and leaping into the other person who's going through problems. Try to understand their situation and have that reflective listening skills going on, and just good communications. And what hurts a lot of times is that I have my position, and I am not going to show my weakness by opening up. So we should be able to really honor confidentiality totally, and again, take shelter of the person around you that makes you strong, makes you feel good. That's again the Sangha, a person who will remind us of what we need to do dharmically. So you have a person who's like a dharmic individual, always there to remind you in a nice way. So again, looking out for each other, that's really important. I can't think of anything better than that. I mean, you can go to look at some material that will help people out of their depression. You can go to a psychiatrist and all these kind of things where you're feeling bad about bad habits. And, but the coaching and the cheerleading and the supporting and all that we were talking about, it really comes from good, sincere people around you, people with good intent. Yeah. Yeah, then we don't have to cry. You only have to go jai. You can go for crying or jaying, one or the other. So it's a very victorious situation if you just have good company all around you and do whatever it takes to build up good communication skills. And it's a little hard if you've been with a community and you haven't been able to open up to someone. It's hard to start, but better to do it before it never happens. Better to speak up when you get a chance. That was the whole idea behind, as a Catholic, to confess your sins or your bad thoughts, whatever. Speak in confidence to someone. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think we have one question here from Vraja. Vraja, you have a question? Maharaj.
Maharaj, thank you so much. Again, I was inspired. I think, oh, I have to read Bhagavad Gita more. You're just navigating from one chapter to the next with the answers, and I'm trying to flip through and figure out where you are. But with this, the darkness of the lust, anger, greed, and envy, I'm kind of thinking of it on a ladder where the lust and then the anger and then the envy and then the greed. And anger, envy, and greed seem to, be very obvious to me. And I can recognize it in myself, but lust seems to be this more subtler like component or element, and it seems to be at the beginning. And I was wondering if you could just speak about lust a little bit more, or, what that is or how we can identify it, in ourselves.
Yes, well, in chapter 16, we talk about lust and anger and greed. These are like the trio that take us to hell. That's how it's described. This trio. So they seem to be, grouped together. And some of the Shastras, when you go into some other areas of Vedic Shastras, they talk about lust and anger and greed, and that is envy and illusion. So that's there too. And then here's another one that you might like to look up. Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohina arata. Icha dvesha. That is in the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada uses that as the verse to say, it's these Icha dvesha. These are the two principles that bring us down and keep us here in this world of suffering. So Ichadvesha refers to desire, which again is like what we're talking about, desire, insatiable desire. And then next to it is contempt. So you can say love and hate, intense love, or let's say perverted love, let's put it that way. There's nothing wrong with love, but when love gets overboard, and when, let's say use the word lust, when it's not controlled, not regulated, then it works against you. But if lust is regulated, operates within the realm of dharma, as Krishna puts it, then that can be identified as Krishna says, I am lust, which is not contrary to dharma, to regulated life or religious principles. So those two stand together. It's a desire and hate, you can say. The hate for what, or contempt for what? Well, for God, or everything that's good. So when we talk about, Ichadvesha, it means desire, my personal desire, my personal interest, my selfishness. That's what brings me to the material world in the first place. And what keeps me here is hate. Chidrisha. So contempt for the things around me. So these are two enemies. So lust is put into different groupings here and there. And just to address the point about the subtlety of lust, yes, the things that are most harmful usually are the ones that come in creeping in, So it looks really nice in the beginning. It's very soft and alluring and so on like that. And eventually it turns into a monster. It's a little bit like the Virat Rupa in chapter 11. It sort of creeps in, Krishna saying, you can see everything here. You see many multicolored forms and images and so on like that. And then he starts to grow and it gets bigger and uglier and horrific and so on like that. So that's kind of like the way Maya works. Subtle, in like a needle, out like a plow. And but it's all the same. So we need to identify the difference between the lust that is uncontrolled, promiscuous, and compare that to controlled lust for love through a regulated kind of life. So one is evil, right? The one that's out of control, and the other one is passable.
So Maharaj, does that have to do with dovetailing, I guess? So let's say if we have a lust, we try to kind of, if it's coming towards something the wrong way, do we try to direct it towards Krishna or?
Yeah, you can. Like if somebody is having spurts of lots of lusty desires, get a hold of a mridanga and start beating at it and play having kirtan. Or go for a run. What really becomes harmful if we contemplate too much, thinking, feeling, willing. Prabhupada used those terminologies. Okay, you think something, something, and it starts to penetrate. You start to feel it out through your mind. Yeah, that would be nice. That way you start to navigate with your mind that this would be great. And then you probe the intelligence. Can you figure out a way how I can enjoy this thing? So thinking, feeling, willing, and then doing. That sort of train is what how the chain of reactions happens. Does that help a little bit?
I think it's bigger than I was even thinking. No,
What's that?
I think it's I think it's quite big and bigger than I was thinking. I guess I'm also just thinking, you were saying that love and hate and I was just wondering also then if and lust, I'm just trying to associate with like desire, trying to figure out a different word to figure out what it is. And I guess would it also be kind of associated with this ungratefulness? Could be
To not have gratitude. I'm sure we can find a link there somehow.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. That was, yeah.
I'm sure we can find a link somehow. But gratitude, since you bring it up, it's so important in life. You can't thank enough the people that are giving you the support during a weak moment. Dark, sometimes called dark hour of the soul. You ever heard that term? Dark hour of the soul, when you hit like a real weak spot, in your life. And there's lots of doubt and questioning, and where you lose it, maybe even like the taste for service and the taste for what you want to. That's dark hour of the soul for Arjuna. Was when he saw it, he looked at everybody. He looked at the Kauravas and he thought, "Oh my God, this is." I knew everyone was going to be there, but simply upon seeing, I'm getting weak. So, as a defense, devotees might just try to avoid looking at things that will bring them down a dark tunnel. Like I would say that pornography, which is so common amongst people now, it's really brought people down the dark tunnel because you're seeing things that will excite or arouse, and that's been very popular. It's becoming something that women are getting into as well. And, so stay away from these. Try to avoid those types of temptations. Fools rush in where angels dare to tread. So be an angel. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You know what? I actually have. Oh, Sheila. Okay. Sheila.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sorry to extend the meeting, but as a follow up with the previous last question, does addiction to any of the material things also can be termed as lust, like as
Yes.
small as addiction to watching a TV series, or addiction to food, or any
Oh,
addiction to extremes that
Lust in the broad sense means all those things under those categories. Like, hoarding is a kind of an addiction, right? Or, the compulsive using the phone everywhere all the time, carrying it around almost like your teddy bear when you were a kid. I mean, it is, it's a very broad, it's a big umbrella when we talk about lust. Yeah.
okay,
But addictions come in so many different shapes and forms. Yeah. And we need to try to go, the reason why regulation is so important, it helps to balance out the planning of your life. Any one area where you just concentrate too much it can be perceived as an addiction. So therefore, balance out your activities and in order to avoid obsessiveness in any one area. Like, say, if it's going to be eating or something like that. Plan your day in such a way that you have a good amount of, sharing of different things that you can experience through the day. That would be my suggestion. Prabhupada used the word regulated life, rules, regulations. He had a formula down, you definitely plan your life, plan your day, instead of the whimsical approach. Prabhupada uses the word whimsical almost as if to be a replacement for the mode of ignorance. You can read about that in this 16th chapter of the Gita. To just be whimsical about everything you do. No, it's good to plan a little bit and be ready for anything that may come your way and be ready to adjust very swiftly. Let your good intelligence be intact. Therefore, Krishna states in the 10th chapter of the Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam vritti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam enamam upayantate. Get to understand Krishna's position. He's big, I'm small. That puts me in the servant role. And when our life is simple like that, then Krishna will give us a certain kind of rationality, certain kind of intelligence that will help us to forge ahead. I'm supposed to give a
Maharaj.
class. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
All right. Good.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. So you're off. You're off to another engagement. Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, I do a reading for some of the devotees here at 6:30 every day, and I just have to do that. But I don't. I like to do that, but I also don't want to leave all of you. I'm in a dilemma. What to do?
You'll have to come back, Maharaj. Hopefully we can arrange sometime soon again that you could come and join us again. It's again a pleasure having you.
Yes, and we'd love to come and visit you. With the COVID thing, it's just always it's been holding us back so many times. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Harikrishna.
Happy New Year. Give my regards to Lakshmani if she comes.
Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you. And Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyeva, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Jai. Hare.
Haribol. Thank you all for your wonderful participation, everybody, for your questions. And I guess now we'll continue with maybe some kirtan at the temple. We have a few minutes left here. So I don't know, Adisham Prabhu, are you there? Would yourself or Mother Nirantara like to lead some kirtan?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, 4 minutes to complete.